Let me give you the overview of our subject. We are going to start. It's all about independent project, how you are going to manage the ICT projects, or how you will develop them, or what are the planning process that will involve in that. So first thing is this, what is ICT? So if I explain you briefly, it is just a technology that is a combination of three things: the information, communication, and the technology. Okay, if we combine these three terms together, then we get that technology ICT. So it is a technology, okay, that can store, that can record, and that can transfer the information in digital form. Okay, in the past era, when all the things were done manually, not digitally, the information was transferred manually, or in analog form. So after the inversion or evolution of technology, the term ICT, okay, these three technologies
Yeah.
combine together, okay, to transfer or record or store that information in digital form. Okay, so what is the benefit of using this ICT? It is very helpful to run our businesses. Okay, we can store our data digitally. We can communicate all over the world. A simple example of ICT, if we are taking that, this is Zoom app from where we can connect remotely to different peoples all over the world. Okay, we are transferring the information all over the world. So it is also an application of ICT that combines information, communication, and technology, three things together. Okay, then it will include all the hardwares, the softwares, the networks, and the telecommunications. Everything combines together. So in our course, we will see what are these ICT projects and how we are going to manage that. So hope so the term ICT is clear. Moving forward, now
Yes, ma'am.
what is an ICT project? So it refers to a project that involves the development of three terms: the communication, the information, and the technology. If we combine three things together. So if we take the examples of some ICT project, the most common example is the software development projects. As we see, many softwares are made based on the three terminologies. If we talk about simple softwares like the software that are made for the customers, like if for organize like MS Word, MS Office, it's also a kind of an ICT project, because what it's doing, it's carrying out our work digitally. Or web development projects are many out there, that websites or the web-based projects. So commonly we can see that we can store the website data in database. So it also carrying the application of ICT, like it is storing our information in digital form. Okay, then it also displays the information. And with website we can also do our whatever we want to do, like different functionalities are there. Or security projects, like if we want to protect our system networks from unauthorized access or attacks, we can see many antivirus softwares are also made. Firewall in the window is also an example of that. Or if we want to protect our networks, there are also many softwares out there. So these are all the common examples of ICT. Basically, the projects that combines the information, communication, and the technology together are the examples of the ICTs. Then, now, from here, our main course is going to start. So, if we are going to design a project based upon ICT, what kinds of problem we are going to face? Firstly, we will see that. So first kind of problem that we are going to face will be a process driven, means the challenges, the issues, or the inefficiencies that might be established during the processes of that project. Now, what kind of processes there? Means when you are planning that process in the planning phase, your planning phase might be ineffective. Means you don't know that what is the total estimation cost or cost estimation of your project. You don't know how to execute that project. You don't have sufficient resources, and you just give an unrealistic timeline. For example, if you told your customers that you will complete this project in this timeline, like 10 to 15 days or months, whatever, but you fail to accomplish that, so it will be a ineffective planning. Okay, so in process driven problems, first thing you are going to face is that your planning may be poor. You don't know how to analyze things, how to monitor. So if you are carrying out a project, the first thing that comes is your plan. If you don't have a proper planning, you can't carry out your project. So your problem can be process driven. Means there might be problems in your process, like there might be a problem in your planning process. Then you have poor requirement gathering, as I discussed earlier, that if you don't gather the proper requirements for the project, like you for example, you got that information, means your customer asks you to add these terms in that project, but you poorly gather that requirement, means you don't gather the proper information that you must have to include in the database or whatever that team project, or if you don't gather the exact requirement or information about the UI or about that backend you want to make, or if a customer asks for a certain language to use to code that site or whatever it is, so you do that, you didn't get that properly. So that might be a part of your poor process driven problem. Then your communication process, lack of communication between the customers and the stakeholders, or between the developers that carry out your project, means the delays, you don't do meetings, you misunderstand their needs, then there is a conflict between your team members. So this might leads a poor project planning, or your project can face delays. So in process driven problems, you might face inefficient communication problems, you might face the poor requirement gathering problem, or you can face the ineffective planning. So these are all the problems you might can face while planning a ICT project. Then
Got it.
what are procedural driven? Means in the what means when you are designing a ICT project, there is a procedure. Like in first phase, you gather the requirement. In the second phase, you plan that. In the third phase, you analyze. In the fourth phase, you deploy that project. And in the fifth phase, you deliver it, and then you keep on maintaining that. This is a procedure for developing a project. So in the six phases, you might there might be occur some problems. Okay, that is your procedural
Okay.
driven problems. Okay, let's see some examples of it. Like inefficient coding practice, means the coders or the developers you hired for your project are not professional. They have lack of coding skills. There are a lot of bugs in your development. So whenever you go and launch your software, that might cause unambiguity, or there might be bugs, or it will not works well. So it can be just because of inefficient coding practice. Then limited training procedures, means you do not train your team members for new technologies or tools you want to be used in that projects. So if you don't train your staff properly, or you don't tell them what they have to do, so it might cause you a project failure. So in procedure driven problem, you might face a ineffective coding practice problem, or there might be limited training procedure that you don't teach them about new technologies. They have not abilities to work with the project resources. So this can be a another problem. Then you do not monitor your procedures, means the project manager you have hired for that project is not monitoring that what is his or her staff doing, or he is not tracking the project progress. He's not thinking about how much time is left for finishing the deadlines. So you have to take care of all it. Means if you are not managing the project efficiently, then it can also be your procedural driven problem. Then if you want to address these problems, then what will you do? You will keep on reviewing your project cycle. Okay, you will refine the specific procedures and you will do continuous improvement in that. Or you will train your staff. Okay. So this was
Okay.
any question till now?
No, ma'am. Clear.
Then what is bottleneck? Now, in simple words, bottlenecks refers to a restriction of in doing something. For example, if you want to complete a project, okay, at some stage you are facing some issues or some restrictions that may cause your project flow slow down. Okay, your process is going slow down. Like if we say like resource constraint means a bottleneck can occur here like you don't have limited resources or you don't have that resources to complete that project. For example, you don't have skilled persons or professionals, or you don't have that proper hardware or the software license. Means if you have not enough developers available to work on that project. Means if you are working on a bigger mega project, okay, but you have if insufficient number of laborers to carry out that project, or in other words, you have insufficient number of developers. Okay, the number of work deadline is means short, and your work you have to done a lot of work, but the number of peoples to carry out that work are very less. So that can be your resource constraint. There might be a restrictions that can cause the slowdown of your development process. So there will be a bottleneck, means there will be a restriction in your resources. So while designing a project, there can be a bottleneck that can occur in your resource constraints. Then it can also occur if, for example, you have only a specific person, okay, a single team member who is going to carry out all the tasks. Means your whole team is dependent on that person. Like for a unique skill, you can say that that person is responsible for managing the database. That only person is for managing your UI or designing your backend. So what if that person is unavailable due to something? Or what if you overburden the tasks? Means there is only one person that is doing multitasking or doing all the tasks. So that might also delay your project. Means what if that person is on leave for 5 to 6 days due to some problems? Your project will be delayed. Means a bottleneck can also be occur if you will only depend on a single team member. Then your technology limitation means if you have limited hardware, if you have only, for example, all the team members are sharing one printer, then a bottleneck can be occur there. Then, for instance, if the database server cannot handle the volume data, means your server is not so big to handle a large volume of data. So it can also slow down the data processing. So these are all the bottlenecks that can be occur during your planning phase. Then the resources you want to use in your project are very expensive. You cannot manage the cost, or if the cost of that resources are too much expensive, so you just hire or buy a little bit of them, but they are not enough to carry out that process. So this can be another kind of problem. So means there can be issue with the implementation of project budget. Means if you buy that expensive resources, this might disturb your budget. And if you don't buy that expensive resources, it might cause delay in your project or the overall success. Then the next problem that can be occur here is the skilled personnel cost. Means the staff or the trained professionals you are going to hire, you have to manage their cost. That can be expensive. For example, if you are designing a project and your budget is not enough, but that project is too complex, means that the staff you want to hire are much expensive than the budget of your project. Means that data scientists, the peoples or the person who are going to manage your analyze your data, the software developers who are going to develop your softwares, the quality assurance engineers, all these persons require a lot of cost. So this can be also a problem for you if you are working on a mega project and you don't have enough to pay them. So there can be a problem. So this is another problem while designing your project. Then training and development cost. Now, you know that if you are working on a project that involves some new technologies, you also have to train them. For training your staff, you have to hire qualified trainer. So you have to also pay that person to train your staff. And then the development cost of your project means development cost can involve the cost of the hardware, software, that can be the cost of the resources in short. You can say to develop that project, or the cost of the personal professionals you are going to hire. So these overall expenses can be also a problem. Okay. Then the next thing is with no visibility of data. Means the visibility of data here refers to the accessibility, the clarity. Okay. The clarity of data in your system. Means if you have not proper data, means you couldn't get the proper data you want to carry out a project. Okay, then there can be some problems while developing that project, or your project may causes a failure. Now what kind of visibility data problems can address to you or while designing a project? Can be a lack of real-time data access. Means if a user cannot access the real-time data in your project, like if he is not getting the data on the daily basis. Okay, if your project required to gather the data on daily basis, then it can may delay the processes. Means your system will not respond dynamic changes, the changes that are made with time to time changes, can be said to be the dynamic changes. So what will be the solution of that? You have to implement a real-time data processing capability. Means what if your project doesn't have the real-time data processing capabilities? Okay, so you have to implement that. You can utilize technologies like data in memory database or stream processing, or that will provide you the up to minute insights. So to solve this issue, you will also have a solution. You can have a real-time data processing capabilities, like you can have a database that can store the real-time information, and on the base of that information, a user can make decisions. Like for example, on a website, a user have to sign up. Okay, that sign up information will go and store in your database. That can be your real-time access. Then when the user wants to log in his or her account, he will use his login details. So what if your site doesn't store the login details or sign up details of the user? The user couldn't log in. So this is the problem of real-time data access. So but if you have a good database that will store the sign up details of the user, and that whenever the user tries to log in with his or her details, so it will check and verify that user is authorized and provide the access to the user. So lack of so providing the real-time data access is also mandatory. Then poor data quality means your data is inaccurate, inconsistent, or your data is incorrect. Means your system or your software stores the data that is not correct, or it stores the you can say unreliable information related to your customer. So what you can do, you will provide data validation checks. Okay, that your data, for example, you provide some checks on the form fields, like on a data form, you can say that a phone number cannot be up to these characters. A phone number or a email can be in a specific format, or this or that. So this will be your validation check, so that the data you are going to collect will be accurate. Okay. So poor data quality can be another problem in visibility of data. So for that, you have to implement the data validation checks so that your process of gathering the data might be clear. Then lack of user training means the user may not fully utilize the system visibility feature, or means the user is unaware to how to use your software, how to use your system. Then what will you do? For example, you will provide a help instruction there that how to use the features, how to use that tools, or how you are going to carry out that system. So you have to provide that. Your system should be provide a helping feature that if a user is unaware of how to use that feature of visibility of data or how to use your system, so that that help feature should train your customers or the users that they can easily use that system. Then another problem that you can face, you have to handle a large amount of data. What if your project required to store a large amount of data? For example, if you are going to developing a project for a college management system, if you are developing a college management system, then you have to manage or store a large number of data of students, of this staff, or the other department separately, each separately. So how you are going to manage that data? So this is a big problem, and there might be several issues and solutions. Like your first challenge will be your data storage. How you are going to store a large amount of data means you have to design an infrastructure like your now if we are talking about our college management system, then you have to store the data of thousands of students, the teachers, the staff, the faculties, whatever. So this might be a large number of data. So how you are going to store them and where you are going to store in such a way that you are storing the accurate data and sufficient data. Okay. For that, you will use different cloud-based solutions, cloud-based storage instead of file management system. So in fast, instead of cloud-based or database, a file management system were used that the data was stored in the terms of file. But the problem with the file management system was that if you made change in one file, then means one file was dependent on the other file. So if you made change in one, then it also you have to change in the other. Then there cause the problem of data will be duplicated, or data can be inconsistent. So for the solution of that, cloud based or database solutions were made. So you can purchase a simple cloud based storage to store your large amount of data. Then now the next challenge is you have stored your data. What if you lost your data, and how you are going to recover that lost data? So managing the backups for the large amount of data, and then how you are going to quickly recover that. So for that purpose, what will you do? You will automate your backup process. Like how if some new data comes into your storage, what you will do? You will automatically backup it first. Okay. And you will do that incremental backup, means whenever a new data is reached or new data occurs, you will immediately backup and then store it. So this process will automate or goes on in a loop. It will goes on and on. New data is coming and you are going to backup that. And what when that data is lost, means if a specific part of data is lost, you might have the knowledge in your system that this data was entered on that date, and on that date that data was stored, so it can be recovered easily. Then you have seen there how you are going to manage the large amount of data. Now the next problem can be with your cost management. So if you are managing a project, you have to manage the cost of storage, you have to manage the cost of processing, whatever you are doing that, and the resources. Okay. You also have to manage the cost of that resources too. So how you are budgeting your project, how you are going to do that? So you will optimize the resource uses, means you will only allocate the resources where they are going to be needed, or you will use some cost-effective solution for the storage purpose, like you will use some some kind of solutions that are effective and that are cheap too, then means that can be affordable for your project. And you will implement using or deleting the unnecessary data, means the data you will delete time to time that is not required to you. So in this way you will manage your cost, and that was all the problems that can be occur in your. And the other problem can be your data duplication, as we talk that in the file management system, like in data duplication, there can be a data is duplicated, as we seen, as I told you, that in file management systems that were just eliminated now because of the cloud-based solutions, that the data was duplicated, means if you make change in one file, there might be a change in another file. So you have to delete that duplicate data. So these are all the, now what will be the cause of duplicate data? Means if you enter a data, okay, and if a new data is entered, you are going to update in multiple sources. Like if new data is entered, means if the record of student you are going to enter, then you will update into the his fees record too. Then his personal details you have also updated there. So instead of updating everywhere, you just keep single copy and you can use wherever it can be used. So then inconsistent data standards means your storage practice means you should use a cloud-based solution. Just like if you enter a data, it should notify you that this data is already stored. Okay, then if you will notify that data is already stored, then the data will not duplicate it. So you will have to use the consistent data standards. So these are the causes and the solutions to just get rid of the data duplications. Then these were
Right.
then now all these are the problems that can be occur in designing your project. The next one is the invention of personal privacy. Now, the first priority of your project or your system should be that to protect your customer data. Means there can be legal issues or problems that can be occur while handling the or while using that. Might be an unauthorized user can access the personal data. So we are moving to the second topic. So let me give you the overview of first topic first. So we have seen what is ICT, then we have seen what is a ICT project, then we have seen what are the examples of ICT and how we're going to address that. Then what is a process-driven softwares? Now, what are the problems? Now, firstly, we see that what are the problems we are going to face while designing a ICT project. So, what was first was the we have seen the process-driven problems. Then we have seen some procedure-driven problems. Then we have seen what are the resource problems related to resources or the non-visibility of data. So moving forward, now the next thing we are going to see is the what are the legal or ethical issues that we are going to face in developing a ICT project. So first one is inventions of personal privacy. Like first one is access controls and authentication. Like what if your data, the personal details of your customer can be accessed by unauthorized user? Okay, so how you are going to protect that? You will implement a strong access control. Means you will provide restrictions to a personal data. Means only an authorized person. Means for example, if you want to log into a specific app, you have to provide your login details, like the password that is only known to you. So it is also a part of authentication, that only a person who is authorized or whose account is that can only enter there. Then the next thing is user empowerment. Then you will provide or guide the user about you should control your personal data. You have to implement some user-friendly tools like interfaces that will allow the person or the individual who is using that they can manage their privacy setting. Means they can, for example, if we seen multiple kinds of social media apps, there is a privacy setting option. You can manage your privacy according to your will. So while managing or developing a ICT project, you can also develop that privacy setting feature in that, so that the user can easily manage his or her privacy according to their need or will. So then, what if the breach of data protection in unauthorized access, like disclosure, or what if the personal or sensitive data is violated? Like breach can be in several kinds, like organization or all over the issues that have to be managed. So let's see how the breach of the data protection is handled in an ICT project. Means the personal or sensitive details. What if the personal or sensitive details of your customer is leaked, and how you are going to manage that? Now, you have provided identification of the breach. Means you have to monitor, you have to see or give the security protocols where you have detect any unauthorized access. Okay, or if where you have seen some suspicious activity, like you will clear a criteria, like you will continuously monitor the system. Okay, like where that problem can occur. So you can be, it might be helpful for you to understand where that problem is occur and how you are going to deal with that. So you have to continuously monitor that. Okay, then the next thing will be your communication planning. Like you have to develop a plan, okay, to inform that effective user that where your data is leaked and how you are going to provide the security measures to protect your data from that. Okay, like you will provide a clear or guidance that this part of your data is effective and you are going to deal with that. How you will protect from that unauthorized access? You might change your login details, or you might just change that password details so that your customer cannot be face any kind of problems. So you have to provide that communication plan. Like what if the sensitive details of our customer are going to be breached or are going to be accessed by unauthorized access, and how we are going to communicate with our stakeholders or with our customers. Then there
Okay.
is another term that is a law. Okay. So what if so according to this law, means GDR and GDPR, like General Data Protection Regulation. So it was a law that was developed by our European Union. Okay. So according to this law, uh, there are some key factors for so that the data of an individual can be protected. So this was enforced on May 25 in 2018. So for the protection of user information, this law was created. So first thing is the consent. According to this law, you cannot give or use the personal data of the user before its consent, before its validation or the approval. So if you want to use some personal data of your customer, firstly you have to got the approval. So if the individual disapprove for using their personal details, so it can withdraw their consent at any time. So this law stated that firstly you have to get the approval of your customer. Then data subject rights. According to this law, that the personal have the right to access the details that the organization or the system is using, or the personal also have right to erase that details, or the person can also restrict the processing of their data. So according to this law, the person whom you are using the personal details of that person, he or she can erase that data anytime. He or she can access, modify. He can do whatever he want to do with that data. So then is the data protection officer. So according to this law, the organizations that are using the personal details of your customers should offer a data protection officer. So what will be the responsibility of this officer will to monitor to see if the employers that are using this data are not using for an illegal purpose or an unauthorized purpose. So you also have to take care of that.
Got it, ma'am.
Okay. Then the
Yeah.
next thing is the collection of unauthorized data. So we have seen in this law that there are some rules that should be followed if an organization is using that data. Like they should get the approval first, then the customer or the user have the right to manipulate his or her data. Then the customer should then there should be a data protection officer. Then what if you shouldn't collect the unauthorized data, means such as cookies in your city ICT project? No, cookies are the small piece of data, okay, that are stored in a user device. So many websites have implemented or embedded cookies in their websites or applications. You can say that like to check out the behavior, how the users use that website or how the user are going to use that site. So you have to see that the collection of your data is properly authorized or is not violation of the privacy law. Okay, that can be result in breaching the privacy or the trust issues. So you can firstly thing is you shouldn't embed cookies on your systems. Then the next thing is transparency and informed consent, means you have to clearly communicate with your users, like we are going to collect your this data, and this can be means for example you have visited on different website, they notify you with a notification that we are using cookies, if you are okay with it or not. So in this way you have to provide a clear communication. What if your task is to consider the steps so that you couldn't collect the unauthorized data, especially cookies? So I have explained you what are cookies. They are just a small piece of data that is stored on the user device to monitor the behavior, how your frequently the user is using your website or how the user is using that, so that based on that feedback you can display the data according to the user preferences. So now for avoiding the unauthorized data collection, you have a transparency and informed consent, means you have to communicate with the user the type of data you are going to collect and the purpose why you are going to collect that data, means you will obtain the informed confirmation from the user, like you will ask the user that if they give you the approval to collect any data, or means you can see whenever you visit a website they give you a notification that we are using cookies, that if you allow it or not, then you will press okay if you are okay with it, or cross that if you don't want to. So you have the informed consent whether a user is willing to give the validation to collect that data or not. Then the next
Got it,
thing
ma'am.
is the user education. You have to educate your user that the privacy of data is very important. For example, if you're using some social media apps, there are different privacy checks that they will provide you to check whether your data is protected, or you might got a notification too from that social media sites or apps that there is an illegal activity or in and some suspicious login from this device from on that time or this. So you have to educate the user that how they are going to protect their data. You must embed some privacy settings, like some apps you have seen that provide us privacy feature that a customer can customize their privacy. So you have to educate the user that how they are going to save that privacy settings or how they are going to protect their data. Then you have to automate the decision making. That automate decision making involves the decision making that can be made by your system without the involvement of a user, without the direct user intervention. Means your system or your software uh, on the behalf of your user means instead of involving the user will take that decisions. So what will it will do? It will enhance your efficiency or streamline workflow. Means you have made your system intelligent enough that it will take the decision according to the circumstances. Like if you want, if you have made us, you are using a project analyze tool. If you want to analyze or track the progress of your project, so you will use a tool that how many chances are the for what is the success rate of this project will be. So that software or system will take the decision and give you that prediction. You have seen many AI tools that are using for that purpose. So in this way, you can also automate the decision making. And how they are important, now let's see that. Now first thing is you have to define the decision making goals. You have to clearly define the objective why you are using this decision making process, why there is a specific need for the system, why the system is responsible for taking that decision, and what if the system is going to take that decision, what will be the desired outcomes of that. So you have to take care of it then. Then what will be the accountability? Means you have to establish accountability for a outcome. Like what will happen if the system is taking the responsibility on the behalf of the developers or the operators or the third parties, that what will happen if something bad will if, how the system is carrying out something, if that thing for the system is making decision is going in a negative way. So you also have to implement that tracking decision making process too. And is the intellectual property rights. Means you have to legally protect the individual's creations or inventions. Means if you invent something or develop something, you have done copyrights. Okay, you have so that an unauthorized person or an illegal person couldn't access that. For example, what is a copyright? Copyright will protect your original work. Okay, means your software code or your written content or your design you are making it can be only cannot be used by another person. This is your copyright. Now, what is your application here? Like in ICT project, a copyright can also apply to your source code or your software documentation that you, if you do copyrights for that, what will you do? That only you can use that. Without your consent, no other organization, no other party is not going to use that. Okay, next. Next one is the trademarks. So as the copyright is going to secure your original work, what a trademark will be do? It will protect your slogans, your logos, your names. You are, for example, if you are giving a specific name to your software, no other person is going to use that same name. That is a trademark. Okay. And in ICT, you can trademark your logos, your branding elements, or your product name. So it will prevent for the confusions, like customer cannot be confused from the same name apps. So if there is a trademark, so no one except you can use that name. Then the trade secrets. Okay, now you have invent something, and there is a specific procedure to invent that thing. So what you will do, you will trade secret that nobody except you can use that trade secret. Okay, so in ICT you can trade secret your algorithms. Okay, you can also secure your legal remedies that are available. So this is how you can going to provide your trade secrets. Then you can also how the copyright restraints can work in ICTs. How what if there are some obligations or some copyright issues. Now, how you are going to handle that? Like originality and creativity. You will provide restraints like copyright protection is granted, means copyright is used to grant or restrict the original and creativity work. Means if you have done something, except you, nobody can use that one. Okay, and you can implement here like in your software codes or the creative elements, you can copyright that. Okay, like there is also a specific duration of copyright. Means if you have copyright something, that can be for 2 years. Means after 2 years, somebody else can use. For protected again, then you also provide or also can copyright it again. Now, we are going to discuss the principles. We have seen the legal issues that can you face while designing a project. Now, we will see what are the principles for developing the project. First is the determining position. You have to determine the position of each and every person. The person who is responsible for managing your project, the person who is responsible for developing your project, means you have to determine the position of each person. Then you have to review the project. What is the project goal? If you are at the position of a project manager, then how you are going to use your position, means you will review your project characters, what is your project objective, and how you are going to ensure that you are going to meet the project needs. Okay, then you will also check that what at what position your stakeholders stands, and you will check and identify that what is your stakeholder interest, and what is their expectations, and what are their concerns, and how you are going to deal with that. Then you have to prioritize the objective. Means for example, your goal is to develop a project for a school or a college management system. So your priority will be how you are going to allocate your resources, what decisions you are going to make. So first objective will be your business goal. Okay, how you are, what are the strategies, is your project is related to that business, if that project is going to give you profit enough so that your overall cost will be managed. So you have to clearly define your business goal, how it is efficient for you. Then is your requirement clarity. Now you have defined your goals, you have you should clearly define how you are going to gather the requirements, like what are the requirements for your project, and what is going to be uh, requirements, how you are going to gather that requirements. You have to understand the requirements of the customer. Then afterwards, security and piracy. Then next objective should be how you are going to secure the customer data. Okay, how you are going to, if you are using some customer data, how you are going to protect their data, how you are managing their privacies. Okay, then your quality assurance. Now your project is developed, you have gathered the requirement. Now is your project quality is good, if it's meeting the quality standards defined by the customer, You also have to review that. Now, now you have also checked your quality assurance. Then the next step is the timely delivery. Now you have to see that if you have developed the project, or can you meet the deadline you defined by to the your customer. So you also have to provide a timely delivery. Okay, you should define the milestones. You have to give the timely delivery a priority, that in this deadline I am going to deliver my project. Then you know that you have given the you have defined your objective. Now the third thing is to you have to develop a plan. Okay, a plan, how you are going to carry out. In the planning phase, the first thing is you will define the objective of that plan. What is the objective, why you are planning, designing that some specific project, on what are the purpose, what is the goal. So your task will be, you will define the scope of the project, that where this project is going to use. Then what is the objective of the process, how this project is going to meet the business need. You will done this in your objective phase. Then you will analyze the requirements, that what are the resources you need for this project, how the end user, you what will we do, you will conduct interviews or do workshops. You will require a document, or the techniques, what techniques you are needed to fulfill this project. So in the planning phase, you will analyze your requirement. Now you have analyzed the requirement, you have defined the goal, you have to define the timeline. Okay, you will create a project schedule, like Gantt charts are used, or where you will define that in this time period I will perform the planning phase, in this time period I will deploy this, in this time period I will do this. So you have to schedule that, how you are going to meet the timeline. Okay, you have to manage that. Then now you have planned it. Now the second principle is how you are going to execute and manage that plan. Okay, first one thing, you will make a team. Okay, you will ensure that each team member understand its role. You will do a orientation session, like for that purpose. Means you will train each employee according to their need. Means the developers will be work on a specific part, the UI designer will work for a UI design, the backend engineer or the database engineer will handle the database. So you have to define the tasks of each member. Now, what if any issue will occur? What if any risk will occur? How you are going to deal with? Your task is to review and update each risk, that this risk can be occur, and if this can occur, I can respond with this plan. So you have to do a proactive uh, activity. Means you have to do some plan something before that risk is occurring. So then you have to monitor the resources. Then you have to manage your resources too in planning phase, that are your resources are enough to handle that? Are you going to deal with each and every resource properly? Okay, then what you will do, you will progress the monitoring, like you will check that I if my project is going in a certain way, if I am getting the if my process is in going in a success way or going in a failure, if I am meeting the timeline or not. You can use different project management tool, you can use different costing tools to track that issue. Now, what if any issue can occur? So, in planning phase, in executing and managing the plan, you have to see how you will resolve any issue. Firstly, you will address the issue, why this issue is occur, and what are the higher levels of management if it becomes a bigger problem, and how I'm going to deal with that. So now you have seen and you have planned how you are going to manage the risk, how you are going to monitor the success, what your team will do, what your objective is. Now, lastly, you will review your plan, that now your plan is okay with it. if my plan is going to meet the criteria I'm working with. So you will schedule your regular review meetings. You will do meetings with the means there might be different level of management, like top level management, middle level managers, with low level managers. You will do some review meetings. Okay, then you will collect and analyze the progress, that if my process is going in a success or not, if I am achieving or facing any delay, or you will analyze the performance, like if your performance is against the project goal, or if your performance is meeting the schedule or the timelines. Now, what if the user required to change something? So you have to revisit the initial requirements. Then, if there is any changes required, you also need to address that. You also need to manage that. Then you will check the change request. If a user requests you to change something, or then you have to again review the changes. You then again to define the schedule to meet that new change. You will do some quality assurance test, that your project is working well or not. You will monitor the securities, the privacy measures, that if your project is doing well, if there is any security concern, what happened if your data is means an unauthorized user can access your sensitive details, what kind of softwares you are going to use to secure your data. So these are all related to your planning phase. These are all the principles that you have to kept in mind while planning your data, okay, while planning your project. So these are all the things we have seen today. What is ICT, what is a ICT project here, and we have seen that what are the principles for planning that project, means what are these principles. Let me give you a brief review. Then is you have to analyze your requirement. You have to determine the position, that what is the position of each person for planning that. Then you have to develop a plan, and how you are going to manage and execute that plan, and what will be the security checks you are going to provide, how you are going to manage the maintenance thing, how you are going to assure the quality of your project. So these are all the things that you have to kept in mind while planning a ICT project. So that was all about today's lecture. If something is not clear to you yet, let me know, please.